So the next question is, if it is georeferenced, how do we know it's georeferenced correctly? And I think the easiest way to do this is to use this really nice feature. You click on this, which looks like a sleeping eye, and it turns on a visualization of all the georeferencing data. And this feature came out a couple versions ago, but I think it's so great to explain georeferencing in this visual way. So when you create a 3D model, there is a 0, 0, 0 point somewhere in there. And it's possible that those 0, 0, 0 points reflect directly to the eastings and northings on your coordinate system. And at the same time, it's also possible that they don't reflect the eastings and northings of your coordinate system. And there is a conversion between them, or a mapping, or some sort of false origin that is created. Whatever the details are, this visualization will show you what the coordinates are. So all you have to do to know whether you've done something correctly is pick a point, and I can move the 3D cursor around. I've got some snaps on, so I'm snapping at the very center of the model. And you go to the georeferencing calculator, and you click the button, and I've snapped it to the base of it, to the top of the cube over there. Let me snap it back to the origin. And it's telling me that this point in map coordinates, so map is my georeference coordinates, easting, northings, and orthogonal height, is 0, 0, 0. And if I move and sample another point over here, let's say I'll just roughly go 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's do this properly, shall we? Let's draw a nice wall. Draw a wall, draw a 5-meter long wall there. And if I sample that point over there in eastings and northings is an easting of 5, a northing of 0, and orthogonal height of 0. So if you know some eastings and northings on your site, all you have to do is sample the point over there, press the calculator, and see if that comes up with the eastings and northings that you expect. If they do, then it's correctly georeferenced. If they don't, it's not correctly georeferenced. So let's put that into practice. Let's imagine that right now we have defined the eastings and northings and height of that 0, 0, 0 point to be also 0, 0, 0. Let's edit that. And we'll just put an easting of 10. And what that means, you can see that number has changed to 10. So this 0, 0, 0 correlates to an easting of 10, 0, 0. And this can be, and this is typically going to be a very large number. You wouldn't have just a number like 10, but it's easy to give an example. So at 0, 0, 0, it correlates to 10, 0, 0. You can see it's just basically plussing 10 to get to the easting. And then if I sample over here, this is a 5-meter long wall. It pluses 10 again, so I get 15, 0, 0. And you can see this map conversion is literally that. It converts from your local coordinates of 0, 0, 0 into the map eastings, northings, and height. And that's all it is. It's just a point that we can say at the 0, 0, 0 point, we can now convert it by plussing some numbers together, by rotating some numbers by a particular angle, and also by scaling it if you have a unit difference. And so even if you didn't understand any of these details, all you have to do is pick a point that you know the easting and northing of, click that button, check those numbers, and go, yep, that's what the surveyor told me that number is. And then it's correctly georeferenced. Does that make any sense? I'll make it slightly more confusing. I'll add an angle in there. So let's go and edit this. Let's toss in an angle of t. So all I've done is I've shifted where my grid north is. So my wall hasn't changed. It's still drawn orthogonally to my project north, and that's great. But my grid north is now somewhere to the top left. And what that means is that this point is no longer going to be 15. If I sample it again, it'll be 14.698, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's done all the math for you. It's worked it out to tell you what that easting and northing actually is once you take into consideration that grid north. That easting of 15, if I really wanted to do that, would be this point over here. So if I just took that wall, rotated by 20, you can see how it's perpendicular. Now, if I sample this point, I will get 15, or very close to 15, because of the angular tolerance, 14.9999999, and negative to e to the power of -7. So basically 0. 1500 is what I'm saying. Cool. So yeah, it's a really simple calculator. You pick a point, it tells you the easting and northing. If it's a number you expect, it's correctly georeferenced. If it's not, well, it's incorrectly georeferenced. Making sense? Easy as pie. You're now qualified to check every single model that they throw at you.
Not to check any single model, but to confirm that none of them has georeference.
Yeah. Yeah.